I mean, I realize it's, you're really not just talking about Singapore. We're talking about Malaysia, maybe Indonesia as well. I mean,
okay. I mean, at one stage, a lot of Malay writing was very nationalistic in nature.
Yeah.
I mean, Malayness, that kind of thing, in Malaysia or even in Brunei. But then I think that has passed. Although some writers, some poets still harp on the old issue. Now I think there's kind of Malay literature, in my view, at this moment in Singapore and Malaysia in general, is in a limbo. Because I think writers generally do not know what they should be writing about. They might be experimenting on certain forms and so on, but and also it's quite more like searching for your own voice kind of thing. You don't see a trend or a concerted effort to do like what the nationalist poets and writers used to do. It might not be a bad thing. Maybe the situation now demands that we are more diverse in our approach, and thoughts, and things. It's just a reflection of the day, so to speak. But I sense that actually, right now, if you ask me who is the leading poets or leading novelists in Malaysia, I can't identify them. I can't identify them.
when was the period of nationalism?
Maybe from the 50s to mid 70s.
The usual.
You're saying you can't identify the current batch of good
I
writers.
I can't say what is let's say the most iconic novel in Malaysia now. I can't identify. Not that there are no good writers, but I think somehow it has not surfaced. It might take time for it to surface.
What about your own themes and your own interests? You said that people have to orientate to find themselves and the voice that they have. How do you distinguish yours? I mean, I have my own idea about your writing, but that's only based on the English translations.
I mean, in my first collection of poetry, I was actually doing an experiment on, psychological and religious mood of a young person in life. It's more like delving into oneself to find your own identity. It's maybe part of my own attempt to exist in this world. And then Sketches of the Mind, collection of poetry is me experimenting on ideas like freedom, about alienation in society, about purpose of education, things like that.
But your poetry and your prose, how would you differentiate them?
I'm not too sure how actually, but I started off with poetry, then I moved on to short story. My first attempt on novel was way back in 1994, was it 19? It was published in 98.
It's the short stories, right?
No, the first novel, Satu Bumi.
Satu Bumi,
yeah,
98 was
98.
published.
Yeah, I took about 2.5 years to complete that novel because it took a lot of stamina.
Which is this book. It deals with the period of in Singapore history.
The separation of Singapore from Malaysia,
right,
and how it affects our attitudes and beliefs.
The premise is also quite interesting. You have a Chinese girl who was adopted by a Malay family.
Actually, I've been telling this all over when I talk about Satu Bumi. It started off with my girl coming home from school crying, and asked her why. She said actually friends in school call her Chinese because she's very fair. I told her you're Malay because I registered you as Malay in your birth cert. But I know that's not adequate. My wife is Chinese. My mother-in-law is a Chinese, adopted by a Malay family during the Japanese occupation. So when I asked my wife, what should we do with our child? She's in Lima. And she said, okay, read this. She handed to me a draft PhD dissertation titled Trends in Malay leadership, in Malay political leadership.
She got a PhD in which area?
In political science,
Political
in
science.
international relations. So I was telling her, how insensitive can you be? I mean, I'm asking you about our child, and then she gave me then she was telling me, just read it. So I read the book, and I discovered this important concept of political culture. political culture which actually defines, shapes people's minds, aspirations, thoughts, feelings, which actually shape your own your character, your personality. I mean, I'm a Malay. I have friends in Malaysia, or Malays, or in Brunei, or even in Riau. When we come and discuss about things, even though we share the same cultural roots, we are different people because of the political culture. Brunei has shaped a different Malay compared to what Singapore has done to me, and what Malaysia, my friends in Malaysia would have experienced. So political culture is an important thing, you know. So with that in my mind, and I was also at that moment reading about a biography of a Malay politician, Yaakob Muhammad, granddaughter, right, is here, a friend of mine, Nasus. So that came together, you know, my child's questioning my thesis, or my wife's thesis, the political biography, and the experience of my mother-in-law that gel up into Satu Bumi. One tell a story about Chinese maiden adopted by Malay family during the case of occupation. Love story between a Malay politician and a Chinese girl, and actually how finally how politics evolved. Singapore was separated from Malaysia, things like that. So it's